Have you ever thought that your life could change completely in just 2 minutes? Neither had Callahan. That night he was simply returning home with his son. He didn't know who the woman standing by the side of the road was, why she was crying, or how she would bring a miracle into their lives. But the letter she carried in her bag, that letter would change everything. And by the end of this story you'll be shouting those 3 words too. An incredible story. The rain started as a whisper, drops lightly tapping against the window of Ben Callahan's old Ford pickup truck. But within minutes it turned into Oregon's relentless downpour. It was as if nature had decided to say something and wouldn't take no for an answer. Ben gripped the steering wheel tightly. His 9-year-old son Wyatt was engrossed in his book. His blonde hair was plastered to his temples. They were approaching the small town of Pine Valley, nestled among pine-covered hills. Ben's wife had passed away 4 years earlier. Since then, every evening had been a struggle. Every night felt endless.
"Everything okay, son?"
Ben asked, his voice calm but tense. Wyatt shook his head but didn't look up from his book.
"I just hope we can make it home,"
he mumbled. Ben gave a weary smile. If this rain doesn't knock us off the road, we'll be fine. Pine Valley was a small town, buried in the quiet scent of pine, where there were more dogs than traffic lights. Ben had been born here, grown up here, married here, and lost his wife here. Every corner was a memory, every street a remembrance. But tonight would be different. He didn't know it yet. Not until he saw the silhouette by the side of the road. At first he thought it was a tree stump or a mailbox. Then a flash of lightning, sharp and sudden, and he saw her, a woman standing alone. Her military uniform was soaked to the bone, her dark hair clinging to her neck. A military bag lay at her feet, one hand holding her phone aloft, the other shielding her eyes from the rain. But the most astonishing thing was that she wasn't moving. It was as if the entire world had stopped, and she had frozen along with it. Ben's foot hit the brake pedal without thinking. The truck skidded slightly on the slippery road and came to a stop a few meters ahead of the woman. "Dad," Wyatt said, his eyes wide. "She's a soldier." Ben didn't answer. He had already gotten out of the car. He ran toward the woman as the rain pelted him. Looking closer, he saw her exhaustion, not just physical, but mental. Her eyes had the familiar look of someone returning from war. In the flickering light of the street lamps, his skin looked pale. His shoulders slumped as if carrying much more than the weight of his bag. "Are you okay?" he shouted over the storm. The woman looked up, startled. Her eyes were sharp but tired. Military sharpness but exhausted. "I'm fine. I'm waiting for roadside assistance," she said quickly, holding her phone up in the air. He looked at her phone, then at the desolation around them. "There's no signal here," he said softly. The hope on the woman's face faded. Her thumb hovered hesitantly over the phone screen. "Of course," she muttered. "My son is in the truck. It's 5 minutes to town. I can find you somewhere to get dry and warm until someone comes." The woman's jaw tightened. I recognized that hesitation, pride, fear, stubbornness, but also deep exhaustion. The rain fell in sheets, as if it were a wall. "I'm not a charity case," she said sharply, her voice defensive. "I'm not offering charity," Ben said simply, his tone soft but firm. "Just humanity. Kindness. There's a difference." A long silence followed. The woman looked at her backpack with the discipline of a soldier, then at Ben's face. There was no judgment there, only understanding. Finally, her shoulders slumped, and she took her backpack. "All right. Just a little." Ben took his backpack, surprised by its weight. As they turned toward the truck, the woman said her name, Tessa. "Tessa Rodriguez. I'm Callahan. This is Wyatt." Wyatt nodded politely, as his father had taught him, especially when meeting someone in uniform. As they got into the truck, silence enveloped them. Tessa watched out the window, while Ben glanced at her out of the corner of his eye. There was something about this woman, broken but strong, defeated but not defeated. As the rain tapped rhythmically on the truck's roof, Wyatt occasionally shot curious glances at Tessa. "Are you really a desert eagle?" Wyatt finally asked. Tessa smiled for the first time, very slightly but genuinely. "Not a desert eagle, a logistics officer. But yes, I have been in the desert." "Cool," Wyatt said, impressed. When they arrived home, Ben turned off the engine. The small cedar-clad cabin, nestled among pine trees, looked modest, but warm. "It's not much," Ben said as they stepped out, "but it's warm, dry, and has a roof." Inside, it smelled of pine and vanilla. The wood-burning stove crackled in the corner, and Wyatt's photos and awards hung on the walls. Wyatt took off his boots and ran to his room. Tessa stood at the door, dripping, unsure of where to stand. Being in someone else's home, trusting, These were things she hadn't done in a very long time. There are clean clothes in the bathroom, Ben said, handing her a towel. They might be a bit big, but they're clean and dry. That hesitation again. The moments when stepping into someone else's world is harder than words can describe. 10 minutes later, Ben returned wearing a flannel shirt and loose sweatpants. Her damp hair was tied back. She looked younger, softer, but the weight in her eyes hadn't gone away. Ben handed her a cup of hot coffee. She took it without speaking and sat down on the couch. They sat there for a long time, the silence broken only by the ticking of the wall clock and the crackling of the fire. Finally, Tessa spoke. "Thank you." "For the coffee?" Ben asked, raising an eyebrow. "For stopping. For helping." Ben shrugged. It didn't feel like a choice. That's what makes it important. The storm raged outside, the wind howling through the trees, branches banging against the window. But inside, something fragile and human had begun. Not romance, not hope, just warmth. The kind that doesn't ask questions, doesn't judge, just waits. "I'm going to ask you something," Ben said, his voice careful. "But you don't have to answer." Tessa waited, her body tense. "Where were you going?" "This town isn't on the main road." Tessa took a long sip of her coffee, trying to buy time. "To the military cemetery in Olympia. I was going to visit someone. A family member." Her voice trembled. "In a way, my fiancé. Marcus." Saying the word still hurt. "He was killed 3 weeks ago." Silence filled the room, heavy and understanding. Ben's heart tightened. He knew that pain all too well. "I'm so sorry," he said softly, knowing the words weren't enough. "Me too," said Tessa, her eyes misting over. "It feels like I'm getting sadder every day." Outside the storm raged, but inside 2 broken souls had found each other, silently sharing their pain. And in Tessa's bag there was still the letter from Marcus, which she hadn't yet mustered the courage to open. That letter would change everything. Tessa couldn't sleep that night. She lay on Ben's comfortable couch, staring at the ceiling. Marcus's letter was in her bag, still unopened, still terrifying. She reached for it and pulled her hand back every time. She wanted to know what was inside, but she was also afraid. Reading his last words would mean saying goodbye for real. She woke up to the smell of coffee. Ben was in the kitchen making breakfast, and Wyatt was sitting at the table drawing something with colored pencils. The house was quiet but peaceful, with a warmth Tessa hadn't felt in a long time. "Good morning," Ben said with a smile. "Would you like breakfast?" "Wyatt's favorite is pancakes, but I can only make eggs." Tessa laughed, a short but genuine laugh. "Eggs will be perfect." "Dad," Wyatt said suddenly, putting down his pencil. "Why was Miss Tessa sad last night?" Ben gave his son a warning look, but Tessa smiled. She liked this child's direct questions. "Because I lost someone I loved, Wyatt. Just like you lost your mom." Wyatt nodded, looking serious. "Dad was very sad then too, but then he told me, when the people we love die, we keep them alive in our hearts. That way, they never really leave us." Tessa's eyes filled with tears. This child's simplicity, this father's wisdom, both gave her hope. "Your father was a very wise man." After breakfast, Ben got ready to take Wyatt to school. "I'll be back in an hour," he said to Tessa. "Make yourself at home." Once she was alone, Tessa opened her bag and pulled out the letter with trembling hands. The envelope bore Marcus's familiar handwriting. "Tessa, if you're reading this." There was a knot in her stomach. She hadn't had the courage to open the letter in 3 weeks. But now, in this peaceful home, maybe it was time. She was ready to hear Marcus's final words. She opened the envelope slowly, almost reverently. "Dear Tessa, if you're reading this, the thing I feared most has happened. But don't be sad, because there are very important things I want to tell you. First of all, know how much I love you. You are the most beautiful part of my life. Every moment, every minute I spent with you was a gift. Don't forget the nights we dreamed of that cabin in Vermont, the moments we discussed dog names, our plans for the future. But now I want you to do something very important. Live. Don't just breathe, really live. Laugh. Fall in love. Be happy. Not for me, but for yourself. Don't let the pain consume you. And one more thing, there's something in the bottom of your bag. Use it. Build a new life." While I was planning this for you, I kept hearing the name of a place, Pine Valley, Oregon. It felt like I had to go there. If you're reading this letter there, it's not a coincidence. I love you forever, Marcus. Note, there's someone named Ben Callahan in Pine Valley. Find him, he'll understand. Tessa's heart raced. Pine Valley? Ben Callahan? How was this possible? How did Marcus know about this town and Ben? Her hands trembling, she opened the bottom compartment of the bag and her breath caught. Inside was $50,000 in cash, carefully folded, and a note, "For a new beginning. You deserve this. You deserve to be happy." Tessa couldn't believe her eyes. Where had Marcus gotten this money? How had he planned it? And most importantly, how did he know Ben? Just then, the door opened. Ben had returned after dropping Wyatt off at school. "Everything okay?" he asked, seeing the shocked expression on Tessa's face. Tessa showed him the letter and the money, her hands still trembling. "Marcus, he planned everything. And he knows you." Ben sat down next to her, his mind spinning. "He knows me? What does he mean?" "He wrote your name in the letter, Ben Callahan. And he knew about Pine Valley." Ben took the letter and read it. With every word, his face grew more stunned. "This is impossible." "Why, do you know Marcus Rodriguez?" Ben's eyes widened, as if struck by lightning. "Marcus Rodriguez? No. Are you Marcus Rodriguez's fiancé?" "Yes." "Why, do you know him?" Ben jumped to his feet, overcome with excitement. "Do I know him? He was my best friend. My high school friend. We grew up together in this town. He lived here before he joined the army." Tessa was frozen. "That's impossible."
No, it's not.
"Marcus talked about you all the time. He said he had a girlfriend named Tessa. He told me how smart, strong, and beautiful you were. But he never mentioned your last name. If he had, then we would have met," Tessa finished, her eyes filling with tears. "Marcus told me everything about you. That you were in the military. How you met, your wedding plans. He even told me about your dream cabin in Vermont." Tears streamed down Tessa's cheeks. "He sent me to you. To his best friend." I placed my hand on her shoulder. "It wasn't just a coincidence. Marcus wanted to send you to a safe place, to someone who would understand you, because he knew I had gone through the same pain. He knew I was in the same situation as you. But the money, where did he get it?" I thought for a moment. "Marcus's family had money, but he never used it. He always said, 'I'm saving it for the future.' I guess that future was you." That day, they both learned a lot. Ben took out the old letters Marcus had written to himself, and they read the parts where he talked about Tessa. Marcus had actually brought his two favorite people together, making sure they found each other. "Look at this," Ben said, showing an old letter. "Marcus writes, 'When I marry Tessa, I will definitely bring her to Pine Valley. You need to meet her, Ben. The two of you will love each other very much.'" Tessa was crying now. "He really wanted to introduce us. And in the end he did," Ben said softly. When Wyatt came home that evening, Tessa was still there. This time, not as a guest, but as part of the story. "Is Mrs. Tessa staying?" Wyatt asked hopefully. Ben and Tessa looked at each other. There was an unspoken but strong bond between them. "A few more days," Tessa said. "If that's okay." "No problem," Ben said, his voice low and sincere. Marcus would have wanted it. That night, Tessa slept on the couch again. But she was different now. She was no longer a guest, but someone who had come as Marcus's gift, and the money in her bag, Marcus's last gift. Maybe it was the beginning of a new life. 3 weeks had passed. Tessa had become a part of Pine Valley. She drank coffee with Ben in the mornings, helped Wyatt get ready for school, and they all ate dinner together in the evenings. Marcus's money was still on the table, untouched. Tessa was wondering what to do with it. "You should use this money," Ben said one evening after Wyatt had gone to bed. "Marcus left it for you. He had a purpose." "But how? What should I spend it on?" Ben hesitated, then took a deep breath. "You can stay here. Permanently. There are jobs in town. At the general store, the school, the hospital. Or you could start your own business." Tessa looked at him, surprised. "Here, in Pine Valley? Marcus sent you here." "He sent me. Maybe there's a reason. Maybe you belong here." That night, Tessa thought long and hard. She reread Marcus's letter. Live. Really live. Fall in love. Be happy. The next morning she had made her decision. As I was making coffee, she approached me. "I'm staying," she said firmly. "But on one condition." "What is it?" "I'm going to use this money to start a business here. A rehabilitation center for veterans. In Marcus's name. The Marcus Rodriguez Veterans Center." I smiled, my eyes sparkling. "That's a wonderful idea. Marcus would have been so proud." The months flew by. Tessa rented a small house in Pine Valley, and began looking for a location for the Veterans Center. I helped her, and the townspeople supported her. The Marcus Rodriguez Veterans Center quickly became a beacon of hope for the area's former servicemen. Ben and Tessa's friendship also grew deeper. At first out of respect for Marcus's memory, no one mentioned anything romantic. But over time, The feelings between them became undeniable. Wyatt was the first to notice. "Dad, do you love Mrs. Tessa?" he asked one day, his eyes full of innocence. Ben was taken aback. "Why do you ask?" "Because you don't seem as sad as you were when Mom died. And you've been smiling more since Tessa came here." Children's innocent observations were sometimes the truest. One evening, after Wyatt had gone to bed, Ben and Tessa were sitting on the porch. The stars twinkled in the clear Pine Valley sky. "Tessa," Ben said, his voice trembling, "I want to tell you something. Something very important." Tessa turned to him, her heart racing. "Marcus was right. He was right to send you here. Because you brought life to this house. To Wyatt, to me, to all of us. I haven't felt this alive in a long time." Tessa's breathing slowed. "Ben, I know it may be too soon. I don't want to disrespect Marcus's memory, but I have to tell you how I feel. I love you, Tessa. I really do." Tessa placed her hand in his. "Do you know what Marcus said in his letter? Fall in love, be happy." "I love you too, Ben. I love you so much." Their first kiss was soft and sweet. The peace found by two wounded souls, a union sanctioned by Marcus. 6 months later, they got married. A small ceremony at the Pine Valley Church. Wyatt was the best man, and Marcus's photo was on the altar. Tessa placed her flowers in front of Marcus's photo. "Thank you," she whispered, "for bringing us together." A year later, when Tessa became pregnant, they named the baby Marcus. Wyatt was preparing for big brotherhood, planning how to protect the baby. "Is Uncle Marcus watching us?" Wyatt asked one day. "Of course," Tessa said. "And I know he's very happy." Years passed. The Veterans Center grew, helping thousands of former soldiers. Ben's carpentry business flourished, and they were ready to expand their home to accommodate their growing family. When little Marcus started walking, Wyatt began learning how to be a big brother. When little Marcus turned 3, Tessa began telling him the story of Uncle Marcus. How he was a brave soldier, how he introduced his mother to his father, and how he made their family possible. "Was he an angel?" little Marcus asked. "No, sweetheart," Tessa said with a smile. "He was a soldier, but sometimes soldiers' hearts are like angels." On anniversaries they visited Marcus's grave. The whole family was there. Ben, Tessa, Wyatt, now 14, little Marcus and their newborn daughter Lily. "Thank you," Tessa whispered to the headstone, "for bringing us together, for giving us a family." As I placed the flowers on the grave, I said quietly, "My friend, I kept my promise. I'm taking good care of them." On the way home, Ben asked Tessa, "Do you ever regret it? About your life in the big city, a different career?" Tessa looked back. Wyatt was reading a story to little Marcus, and Lily was sleeping in Ben's arms. "This is my real career," she said. "Family, love, Marcus's legacy." That night, in the quiet of Pine Valley, Tessa watched the stars from her window. One of them was particularly bright, as if it were winking at them. "Good night, Marcus," she whispered. "And thank you. You kept your promise. You taught me how to truly live." The wind rustled the leaves, a soft sound as if in reply. 10 years later, when Wyatt graduated from college and returned home, the family visited Marcus's grave again. This time, Wyatt had brought his girlfriend Sarah along. "Uncle Marcus," said little Marcus, now 13 years old, "I want to tell you something new. Dad told me your story. You were a real hero, not just in the war, but here too. You made our family possible." Tessa closed her eyes. The life Marcus had promised had come true. Love, family, happiness, everything was as he had planned. "Sometimes," said Ben, placing his hand on Tessa's shoulder, "the greatest miracles come in the most unexpected ways." "And sometimes," added Tessa, "love is stronger than death. Marcus may be gone, but his love is still here, living in our hearts." Everyone in Pine Valley knew this story. On rainy nights, people still remembered that night, remembering that miracles really were possible. Because sometimes, in our darkest moments, someone in the guise of an angel comes into our lives, and that angel takes us exactly where we need to be. Marcus Rodriguez never married, never had children, but his love lived on through the generations. In my marriage to Tessa, in the laughter of their children, in the successes of the Veterans Center. And every year on the anniversary of that stormy night, the family gathers to remember Marcus. Because thanks to him, a family was born. Thanks to him, they found love. End. This story shows us that sometimes our greatest losses can be the reason for our most beautiful beginnings. Marcus died, but his love lives on. Tessa was a soldier stranded on the side of the road, and Ben was a tired single father. But together, with Marcus's dream, they became a perfect family. If this story touched your heart, please don't forget to like and share it. Because everyone deserves a second chance. Everyone deserves love. And sometimes the most beautiful stories begin in the darkest nights. See you in the next video. We love you.